Whole Foods 365. We start with Brock Purdy versus Tom Brady. And unfortunately, for some people that saw an upset on the horizon, this one wasn't close. Purdy on the board early and often, 2 touchdowns and a rushing TD. Here he is after the game. Take a listen.
Honestly, for me, I just kept telling myself, dude, this thing ain't over with that guy on the other side of the field. You know, I just wanted to keep putting up points on the board however many times as we could. Knowing, you know, this dude's made all these crazy comebacks in his career, so I didn't want that to happen in my first game, you know, as a starter. So, you know, the whole time I'm like doing my thing and stuff, not looking at the scoreboard, knowing the situations and stuff, but also respecting who's on the other side. Didn't want to give him a chance at the end.
You think that guy can win a Super Bowl?
I think he can be on the team that wins the Super Bowl. He could start the Super Bowl and win that game. I'm not a big quarterback wins guy. I know that's, you know, antithetical to how so many people look at football, but all of a sudden you see a 7th-round pick named Brock Purdy, who none of us who weren't watching the Iowa State Cyclones the last 4 years knew much about.
Watched him every game he played.
You watch every game, a big Iowa State Cyclones fan?
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden they look utterly dynamic. You know what's interesting? I watched that game yesterday, and I said to myself, that's why the Niners traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. And I understand that might sound crazy because it's like, well, that team doesn't look like they need a quarterback. They don't have to have a quarterback, but they, I think, accurately surmised if somehow we were to one day have a dynamic quarterback, have a quarterback who allows us to use the entirety of the field, have a quarterback who actually threatens the defense, we will be the best team in football by a wide margin. Now, I don't know that Brock Purdy can maintain that level of play. In fact, I'm pretty sure he can't quite maintain the level he's shown through the first 7 quarters of his career. But through 7 quarters, what the Niners are showing you is that they have been handcuffed the entirety of Jimmy Garoppolo's tenure there by the limitations of the quarterback. And now they have a quarterback who can throw to every quadrant of the field, who can stand in the pocket and not close his eyes when he's under pressure, but stare down the pressure, take a massive hit, and make that play. And they look like a high-flying offense to go along with, oh yeah, the best defense in the NFL. So, yeah, listen, Brew, I get it. This is a very, very tough day for the quarterback wins truthers. The Niners thrive without Jimmy G in the afternoon, and Tua goes down in the evening. But, yeah, absolutely this team can win the Super Bowl.
They can. I got them behind Philadelphia. And then I'll probably go with the AFC team. If it's Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, we'll see. But Purdy looked great. All right. Purdy looked good. I want to wait and see, though, to see what he is. It's 2 games. All right.
Totally fair.
Jimmy G handcuffed. Kyle Shanahan's the boy wonder, right? Mm-hmm. Kyle Shanahan saw 5 games of Jimmy G and said, let's make him the highest paid player in the history of football.
That's disingenuous.
That actually happened a few years ago.
But that's because
he and John Lynch, I'm just saying, handcuffed.
Yeah.
Let's say he took him to the NFC title game, the only 2 seasons he's been healthy. And Nick, you know that's some revisionist history. Now, does Jimmy G have his limitations? Yes. True. But the reason they traded 3 first-round picks was not solely, or I would argue mainly, because of Jimmy G's limitations. It was because he gets hurt all the time.
And because he's been bad in every playoff game he's ever played
too much. And yet they won the Super Bowl and were got to the Super Bowl 8 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl.
And he was terrible in that game. He had 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and a 68 rating.
But to rip him like he is holding the team back, just because he is not as good of a quarterback
as
Deebo Samuel as a receiver running back, doesn't mean he's holding the team back. But Brock Purdy, can we see more than 7 quarters?
No, we literally can't.
Crown him Joe Montana.
But here's what I would say, Greg. We literally can't see more than 7 quarters. You want to crown him Joe Montana, though. I have Dusty, give me the graphic.
Dusty?
The graphic.
The graphic,
Who loves
please.
the quarterback wins graphic? Greg, I got a great quarterback wins graphic. Oh, my God.
Brand new.
How many games does Purdy play?
I don't know, but I know that's a perfect record. Since you're a quarterback wins guy, here's the thing, Greg. Yeah, of course we need to see him play more than 7 quarters, but 7 quarters is all we've been eligible to see so far. And to me, the Niners offense looks scarier. To me, the Niners look like they have a more diverse array of options with literally a guy from the 7th round of this year's draft than they ever had with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Or Trey Lance,
Maybe
for that
he's not
matter.
better.
How about that?
The Trey Lance, they were throwing it down.
They don't look better than they did with Trey Lance?
I don't know. We saw Trey Lance play in a monsoon. And then he broke his leg. But just quickly, maybe it's not that Brock Purdy's better. But it sure seems like Kyle Shanahan trusts him more. And that Kyle Shanahan will let him do things he won't let Jimmy Garoppolo do.
Well, I think it's a matter of, number one, I like what Brock Purdy has been able to do. And they can win a Super Bowl with him at quarterback because this team is a quarterback-friendly team. What we're seeing right now is a young man getting an opportunity and maximizing it. Like he's playing with house money. He has nothing. They have no one to turn to. So right now he's pushing the ball outside the numbers, down the field. Like he's getting the ball in his playmakers' hands. All the things that Jimmy Garoppolo did that had us like, Jimmy's back. He was having arguably his best season as a pro. But for me, what I like about this young man is how he does it. Like his body language. He doesn't seem to be afraid to make the throw. You mentioned something, and I know we kind of laugh at it, but when we see Jimmy Garoppolo like throw it and duck or throw it and close his eyes,
it's a real thing.
It is definitely a real thing. And as a receiver, I get frustrated seeing that because what I saw out of Brock Purdy, he stood in the pocket and took even a touchdown throw. Stood in the pocket, took the hit, threw it to McCaffrey, understood, I'm going to take this hit, but I got to make this throw. And for him, we say it's seven quarters, but for 7 quarters, he's been impressive. So if you give him 4 more quarters and 4 more quarters after that, he can improve too now.
You got to, some defensive coordinator is going to have to say, you know what, I'm going up against a guy who's played 7 quarters. Perhaps I'll roll something out that will confuse him. I'm surprised it didn't happen with.
Well, I mean, it's not like he's gone up against trash teams. It was the Dolphins and the Bucs have been living off their defense all year.
But you can't confuse somebody when they
get a little more tape on a guy.
Yes,
they
that's
come
right.
Absolutely, but it's hard to confuse a guy when all you're doing is getting the ball out quick.
Yeah. Quickly, Greg, Jerry Rice. Debo was hurt yesterday. Jerry Rice was on Instagram. Said, quote, please stop running our skill players up the middle. Trey Lance got hurt. Jimmy Polo 10 also got hurt. It's Jimmy G. And now Debo all hurt. Your reaction to Jerry Rice's criticism of the play calling?
I completely disagree with him. 100% disagree. Like especially when we're talking about Debo Samuel, like what makes Debo special, what makes him who we all look and enjoy to watch is him being able to line up in the backfield and run the ball. Like if we just line Debo Samuel up, and this is no knock, but this is real. Like if we line him up at receiver,
he's not a top 10 guy.
No, he's not the same guy.
He's an all-pro because of this.
This is what makes him special. So to say don't do that.
I know, but Jerry Rice is saying you're putting guys in harm's way.
This is what makes this team hard to defend. The way they run their offense, the way they scheme, the way they formation variation and have all these different runs out of everything. Like this is what makes this team unique. Okay. If you want them to stop and throw West Coast offense, then there would be a terrible offense.
Right. They have to have a real quarterback for that, and they haven't had one yet. Maybe Purdy will turn into
Christian McCaffrey. I'm like, I'd like to run around the outside, please. Hey, smart football people had Brady pulling the upset here. Didn't happen. Bucs looked boring. I'll just be honest with you.
Boring?
They just look boring.
That's a nice way to put it.
Well, here's Brady after the game.
It's easy to say. Everyone's got to play better, but we're just not playing. We just have not played consistently well very often. We haven't played it for 4 quarters. We played it a little bit at times. Not today at all. But some games where we play well for 5 minutes and don't play well for 55 minutes. Some games we played pretty well for a half. We just have not played consistently well for a game.
Brew, is it time to write the Bucs off?
Yes.
Okay.
They're done. All right. They are not a threat to win the NFC. Now, if they win their division, and I'm not convinced they will. Carolina's won 3 out of the last 4 since they jettisoned Baker Mayfield, who some people love, but in great game last week. But still, they're playing better without him. They just beat Seattle yesterday. All right, they got to win that division. But if they do, I'll say this: Dallas could beat itself against anybody.
So you think they can?
No,
make the
I don't
second
think they
round?
can win the NFC.
But
they're not going to get past San Francisco. They're not going to get
Can't win
past
half their
Philadelphia.
games. They're not
they-
good.
So
they
you're,
cannot win
you're
the NFC.
done with them entirely.
The team is below 500.
Yep.
This is not a hot take. Everyone's got this
Thank you.
memory that the Bucs are this great team. When they go out there to play, more than half the time they walk off the field losers. Whether or not Tom Brady is autographing interceptions, but like you can't give this team all of this vestigial respect
So you're done
that we're
with
not
them too,
bestowing
right?
on
I've
any
been
other
done
team.
with them. They're trash.
Whoa.
They're not a good team, and I believe they're going to cough up the NFC South.
Oh,
Nice.
So you don't think they're winning
you got
the division?
Carolina
I
or
don't.
Let's
Atlanta?
go.
I don't. I don't know who's going to win it. I just don't think it's going to be
Greg,
that team I just
let's
witnessed
bet
yesterday.
one of your pretty ties on that. A tie for tie bet. One of yours
why
versus
do you
one of mine.
believe,
I have the
Nick?
Bucs. You get the field.
Tom
got it.
Brady, two
Well,
words.
why do you
That's
believe?
it, right?
Okay,
Tom
first of all, they're going to win the NFC South because for the Panthers to win it, they will have to win 7 of 8 games. That is an impossibility.
Yeah, but you
the
know, that's like a
Falcons are
roulette
done.
wheel thing. That's not fair.
No.
What they did
it's
before
not-
has nothing to do with what's going to happen in these next
Of
4
course
games.
it does. It's not like a roulette wheel,
Are they-
which has no
Tampa's
memory and
gonna
does not
win?
involve human beings. Of course, a team, I can look into how a team's played the last month and think if they're going to play that way the next month. Tampa's going to win
They
the
got
the
Cincinnati
NFC
next week.
I wouldn't be shocked if they beat Cincinnati,
Oh.
but I am guaranteeing you that in their final 4, which is what they have left, at a minimum, they go 2-2. I think they'll go 3-1. Either way, 2-2 wins them the division. 1-3 might win them the division.
Nope.
And okay, all right. I'm gonna pick. I get to pick the tie, by the way.
1-3.
Are the Bills on track for the Super Bowl? I thought they played well.